Hello everybody and welcome to part 9 of What If Izuku Midoriya Had Nightcrawler's Powers. If you've missed any of the previous parts, there will be a link in the description below to a playlist and in the annotation above. If you happen to enjoy the series, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you happen to be new around, quick reminder, I made a Discord server. If you guys want to chat, I'm always available there. The internships come to an end, and Midoriya says goodbye to everyone at his agency. A few days later, in the classroom, Kirishima and Zero laugh at Bakugo because of how he looks with his hair after the internship. Bakugo threatens them, telling them to stop. Zero just mocks him, making Bakugo more angry. Ashido asks Jiro, "You fought actual villains? I'm so jealous!" Jiro says, "Well, I didn't really fight. All I did was help people evacuate and provide logistical support." Ashido says, "But it still sounds like so much fun." Tsuyu says, "I basically spent the whole time training and cleaning the ship deck, though there was this one day we caught a bunch of drug smugglers." Mina and Jiro say, "Okay, now that's cool." Tsuyu turns to Uraka and asks, "What about you, Ochako? How was your week?" Uraka, while doing some basic martial arts movements, says, "I'd say it was pretty enlightening." Mina turns to Midoriya and asks, "What about you, Blue? How was your internship?" Midoriya says, "Didn't do much. Spent most of my time training in more advanced combat than usual, although there was that one day the League of Villains invaded Hosu and I had to save Ida's butt." And Kaminari says, "Oh yeah, you almost fought Stain, right?" The whole class starts talking about Stain, how creepy he is, and his ideology. After Kaminari makes a comment, Jiro bumps him on the shoulder and says, "Hey dude, not cool." Ida says it's fine, and he goes to sit down. Midoriya teleports next to Ida and says, "You know, you're gonna have to talk about it sometime." Ida turns away and says, Isn't it time for class to start, class rep?" Midoriya looks at the clock and teleports to the podium, saying, "Let's get to our seats, guys." And Ectoplasm comes in to teach some math. A couple of periods later, the students get together with All Might on Ground Gamma. All Might says, "I am here. Hope you are ready to return to our lessons. Today, it's Hero Basic Training. Feels like I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. Now then, listen carefully to what's in store. We are going to be conducting a little race. Take everything you've learned from your internships and apply it to this rescue training." Ida raises his hand and asks, "If it's rescue training, then shouldn't we be at the USJ instead?" All Might says, "That facility specializes in disasters. As I said earlier, this is a race. So prepare. You're about to step into Field Gamma. Inside is an area full of factories that form an intricate labyrinth, so good luck finding your way around. You'll be competing in groups of 5. Each person starts in a different location on the outskirts of the model city. I'll spend a distress signal and you will do what you must to come rescue me. However, whoever finds me first wins, but try to keep the property damage to a minimum, please." Bakugo gets angry and says, "Why are you pointing at me?" All Might says, "All right. First group, go to your places." The group gets into position, and the people watching in the waiting area start betting on who will win. Yorozu says, "I think Midoriya is going to win this race." The race starts, and Midoriya starts teleporting around and wins the race in a matter of minutes. All Might congratulates him before passing on to the next group of students. After that, a couple weeks pass, and the final week of June arrives. In the classroom, Aizawa says, "All right, that's it for today. There's only 1 week left before your final exams begin. I'm sure you're all studying constantly, right? Don't forget to keep training. The written exam is only one element. You also have the practical portion to worry about. Good luck." And he leaves the classroom. The moment he does, Ashido and Kaminari says, "I've barely taken any notes this semester." As Ashido starts laughing, Kaminari, worried, says, With the sports festival and the internships, I didn't have time to even read a textbook. Koyami says, it's true that we haven't had much free time lately. Sato says, we barely learned anything when we took our midterm, so they didn't seem too hard. Midoriya turns to Ashido and says, if you need help, I can help you study. Ashido smiles and says, you do that, Blue? Midoriya says, sure. And the study groups are formed. After that, they go eat at the cafeteria. Midoriya says, I'm kind of scared about the practical portion. There is no telling what they will have us doing, and I don't think my combat skills are that great. Ida says, hard to believe they'd have us doing anything too crazy. Ashido asks, plus, didn't you study combat at your internship? Midoriya answers, yes, I did, but I don't know what we'll be doing. It's driving me crazy. Hagakure says, it's a comprehensive test of everything we've learned this year. Tsuyu adds, and that's all we can get Aizawa to tell us. Uraka says, okay, so then it'll cover combat training, rescue training, oh, and basic training. Midoriya says, we can't just study, we have to stay in great physical shape. Rather than teleports, sensing something, teleports away reflexively, like he feels it coming and teleports away reflexively. Monoma says, oh, of course you'd run away. Midoriya starts walking towards his chair and says, you're from class 1B. Monoma, right? Monoma says, heard you stumbled across the hero killer. Of course you ran away with your tail between your legs. That's all you're good for, running away. Of course, with an appearance like yours, who would want you to save them? Minoru clenches his fist. Mina's about to say something in defense, but before she can, Midoriya calms down a bit and says, I'm sorry, but under the circumstances, I thought saving a pro and a classmate's lives was more important than fighting. I'm sorry that somebody with an ego as bloated as yours can't understand that. Monoma is stumped for a moment, and he says, here's food for thought. If you keep attracting those villains, someday the rest of us might get caught up in your mess. And then we'll all become unwilling victims as well. What horror will you bring down upon us? Kendo hits Monoma over the head and says, not funny, Monoma. You know what happens to Ida, and that Midoriya could have died in that fight. Kendo turns to Class 1 and says, I apologize for him. I'm pretty sure there's a hole where his heart should be. So I was listening. I know. You all are worried what's going to be on the big final practical. I heard it's going to be combat against robots, like in the entrance exam. I tried, a friend of mine a few grades up told me. I know, cheating, but oh well. Midoriya says, maybe it's not cheating, but part of the test. The next week passes rather quickly, and the days of the final exam arrives. The 3 days of written exams pass, and all that's left is the practical portion. The students gather in the testing building where a group of teachers and other faculty members are waiting for them. Aizawa says, well then, let's begin. The last test. Remember, it's possible to fail this final. If you want to go to camp, then don't make any stupid mistakes. Jiro asks, why are all the teachers here? Aizawa says, I expect many of you to have gathered information and believe you have some idea of what you'll be faced with today. Kaminari screams, we're fighting those big old metal robots. Mina says, fireworks, s'mores, here we come. Midoriya says, maybe don't get ahead of yourselves. Nezu comes out of Aizawa's scarf and says, that's why this year's tests will be completely different for various reasons. Gorozu asks, you're changing things? Nezu says, the tests you now have a new focus. There'll be hero work, of course, but also teamwork and combat between actual people. So what does that mean for you? You students will be working together in pairs, and your opponents will be one of our esteemed UA teachers. Isn't that fabulous? Aizawa says, additionally, your partners and your opponents have already been chosen. They were determined by discretion based on various factors, including fighting style, grades, and interpersonal relationships. Nezu says, in order to win, your objective is to put these handcuffs on your teacher, or you can win if one of you manages to escape from the combat stage. Kaminari says, so we have to either capture the teacher or run away. It's basically like the combat training. Ashido asks, but is it really okay to just jet? Nezu says, yep. President Mike says, it's going to be much more different than combat training you all went through earlier. After all, you're up against people who are way better than you. Jiro says, better? Really? Aren't you just the announcer? President Mike says, hey, watch your mouth, girl. 13 says, this time your exam will be very similar to a real battle. As strange as it is, please think of us as villains. Snipe says, assuming you come across your enemy, then fight. If not, then run away, if you think you can fight them. Aizawa says, we'll be wearing these handicaps that add 1/3 of our body weight. Your exam will begin in 15 minutes and will last 15 minutes. You can spend your time strategizing or watching the other students fight. Good luck. The first match is Kirishima and Sato against Cementos, which, like in the anime, ends with both of them failing. The second match is Tsuyu and Tokoyami against Ectoplasm, which ends with them both passing. The third match is Koda and Jiro against President Mike, which ends with them overwhelming President Mike with insects before escaping, having both of them pass the exam. The fourth match is Hagakure and Shoji against Snipe, which ends with them using Hagakure's stealth to pass. The fifth match is Mineta and Zero against Midnight. Thanks to Mineta's strategizing, he manages to pass, but Zero fails. The sixth match is Aoyama and Ojiro against Nezu. In this exam, they spend most of the time running around Field Gamma, looking for a way out as Nezu keeps destroying their exits. However, thanks to Ojiro's strong tail, Aoyama's naval laser, and their quick thinking, these two students manage to create their own path towards the exit, passing the exam. The seventh match is Yaoyorozu and Kaminari against Aizawa. Before the fight actually began, they tried settling for a plan, but Yaoyorozu, not being confident in herself, goes with Kaminari's plan, which is just overwhelming Aizawa. However, on the way towards Aizawa, she actually rethinks it through better and proposes a different strategy, which they execute. They use Momo's quick thinking combined with a conductive line and Kaminari's quirk to trap Aizawa in a makeshift prison, passing the exam. The eighth match is Ashido and Uraraka against 13. Before the fight starts, they come up with a plan. However, they are horribly uncoordinated and can't put it into execution since they can't seem to get along that well on a personal level. They manage to get away from 13 and get some cover to hide in for a little bit. Uraraka asks, what went wrong back there? Ashido says, well, you kept getting in the way of my attacks. Uraraka says, no, I mean, we were very uncoordinated. If you weren't going to pass, we need to work together. Why do you have such a problem with me? Ashido says, what? I don't have a problem with you. Uraraka says, then why can't we seem to work together? Ashido says, it just feels like you're constantly getting in the way of me and Midoriya becoming better friends. It feels like we keep competing for his attention. Ashido realizes something and asks, do you have a crush on him? Uraraka blushes heavily and says no. Ashido says, you totally do, don't you? That's why. Uraraka asks, do you have a crush on him too? Ashido says, nope, just thought he was a cool guy and thought we could be a super awesome team and wanted to be friends with him. Uraraka says, then we need to come up with a plan to beat 13. The two of them then come up with a plan, setting it into motion. Uraka rushes at 13 from the front. She uses her black hole. 13 uses her black hole quirk to pin Uraka down. However, Mina comes from behind and manages to distract 13 long enough for Uraka to get free and use her martial arts training to restrain 13, getting both of them to pass. The 9th match is Izuku Midoriya against Power Loader. Since Power Loader puts traps all over the complex, they have no real way of getting around. Ida isn't fully concentrating, being a bit preoccupied having Stain and his brother on his mind. Midoriya notices this and slaps him in the face. Midoriya screams, "Your brother wouldn't want this, Ida. Stain has been defeated, but you haven't learned, you haven't gone past that. If you want to be a true hero, you can't focus on the bad things that happened in the past. You need to focus on the future. Make sure that something like what happened to you, your brother, doesn't happen again. You inherited your brother's name, right? So stand up and be ingenium." Ida opens his eyes and says, "Right. What's the plan?" Coming out of the ditch where they were hiding in, Midoriya and Ida jump out. Midoriya grabs onto Ida, teleporting him further across the stage. Ida, using his Recipro burst, manages to get through the gate, evading Power Loader. Midoriya jumps onto Power Loader. He teleports him out of the battlesuit thing he is wearing and puts the restraints on him, having both Ida and Midoriya pass. The last match is Bakugo and Todoroki against Endeavor, since Endeavor is brought in to help Todoroki overcome his trauma. In this fight, Bakugo and Todoroki face off against the number 2 hero. Bakugo tries to convince Todoroki to use his full power, but Todoroki is very hesitant. Eventually, Endeavor overpowers Bakugo, breaking his gauntlets and pinning him to the ground. Todoroki realizes that his ice isn't enough as it's melting before it even gets close to his father. So he starts using his fire, awakening some painful memories. However, Todoroki's awakening is too late, and before he can do much, the match ends with Todoroki and Bakugo failing to pass, surprising everyone who was watching from the monitoring room. Anyway, I'm going to be leaving it here today. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can always hit the like button. It's very appreciated, and so shows that you want more. Quick reminder, I now have a Discord, link in the description below and all that. Sorry if my voice is tired. I just recorded like 9 scripts into videos, and this is the last one. So I hope you all have a nice day. See you next time. Bye!